The first thing Falcon Trent noticed when he regained consciousness was the silence, thick, unnatural, like a vacuum waiting to be filled with chaos. His head throbbed. His left arm dangled uselessly and his right leg was twisted at an angle that didn't belong on any healthy human body. Bright blue lights blinked above him, casting a soft glow over the metallic ceiling. He tried to sit up and gasped as pain flared through his leg. "He's awake," a voice said, clipped and echoing through a translator device. Falcon squinted at the figure looming over him. It was tall, pale green, and covered in a smooth exoskin that shimmered faintly. For long fingers extended from each hand. The alien tilted its head. "Vital signs indicate pain and confusion. We should authorize sedation." "No," Falcon croaked. "Don't sedate me. Just tell me where I am." The alien blinked sideways, eyelids folding over massive black eyes. "You were aboard the medical vessel Virex under authority of the Alliance of 83. You crash-landed on Kirax 3 during a recon survey. Your injuries are extensive." Falcon's memory flickered. An engine failure. A mayday sent too late. A violent descent into an unfamiliar planet's atmosphere. He remembered the impact. And then darkness. "What's broken?" he asked, gritting his teeth. The alien tapped a screen on the wall. "Your right tibia is fractured in 2 places. Your left shoulder was dislocated during ejection from your craft. Several contusions across your thorax and cranium. Internal organs undamaged. Can I see my squad?" "You were alone in the vessel." Falcon's heart dropped. "No, there were 3 of us. Francis, Ludo, and me. We recovered only 1 lifeform. There are no other human signals on Kirax 3. Falcon turned his head. The effort sent a wave of dizziness through him. "I need to get up." "You are not authorized to leave the medical bay." "Screw authorization," he muttered, trying to swing his legs off the table. Pain roared up his leg like a wildfire. A sharp buzzing sound filled the room and a second alien entered, this one shorter, with a smoother carapace and a red insignia on its chest. "The human is agitated," the first one said. "Recommend neural damping." "I said no sedation." Falcon shouted. The second alien regarded him with something that might have been curiosity. "You are in distress. We intend no harm. Your injuries are treatable, though your shoulder dislocation requires surgical alignment." Falcon froze. "Surgery? For a shoulder? It is the safest course." He shook his head. "I can fix that myself." Both aliens stared. "You are not authorized to perform medical procedures on yourself," the first alien said. "Watch me." Falcon slid off the table and landed awkwardly on his good foot. His right leg trembled under the strain, and he had to grab the edge of the table to stay upright. He limped to a nearby bench and dropped onto it with a grunt. "Proceeding with self-treatment is not advisable," the second alien said. "The risk of nerve or vascular damage." Falcon cut him off. "I've had this happen before. I don't need a scalpel and a crew of glowing nurses. I need a wall, a towel, and about 30 seconds of pain." The aliens exchanged a glance. Or what he assumed was a glance. It looked more like 2 statues twitching in sync. "Prepare to restrain him if he loses consciousness," the first alien said. Falcon removed his jacket slowly, teeth clenched, until his left arm hung bare and limp. He took a deep breath, placed the towel he'd found on the wall at shoulder height, and turned his body just enough to align himself. "What are you doing?" the second alien asked. "Fixing myself." He exhaled, then threw his shoulder forward and slammed it against the towel-covered wall. A wet pop echoed in the room, followed by a scream that tore its way out of his throat. He dropped to the floor, panting, cradling the arm that now hung differently than before. His eyes watered, sweat pouring down the sides of his face. But the pain had changed from sharp and stabbing to a dull throb that told him he'd done it right. The first alien looked stunned. "You relocated the glenohumeral joint manually." "Yeah," Falcon groaned. "And it sucked." The second alien crouched beside him. "Why refuse surgical correction?" "Because I've done it like this before. I know my shoulder. Surgery takes me out for weeks. This? A sling and a few days of ice." "But the pain is temporary." The alien stood in stunned silence as Falcon tried to get back on the bench. The second alien offered an arm to steady him. He hesitated, then took the help. "You should remain supine," the first alien said. "Your leg fracture is still untreated." No argument there. A third figure entered the room. This one was taller than the rest, dressed in a deep blue uniform with silver trim. Its eyes were narrower, its posture more rigid. "I am Commander Ilix," it said. "I've been briefed on your condition. You declined surgical assistance for a dislocated shoulder. Fixed it myself. That is illogical. Welcome to humanity." Ilix paused, looking at the medical readouts. "You are not fit for interrogation or debriefing. You will recover here. We will reassess after your leg is stabilized." "Fine," Falcon said. "But don't try to knock me out again." Ilix gave a nod, then left without another word. The second alien turned back to Falcon. "We will begin imaging the tibia now. If the fracture is clean, casting may suffice. Otherwise, we will require internal fixation." "Just tell me what the skin says." Falcon lay back on the table as the imaging machine hovered over his leg. The ache was worsening, and the adrenaline from fixing his shoulder had definitely worn off. "Two clean fractures," the second alien said. "Casting is viable." "Good. Then let's do it." They worked with surprising care, wrapping the leg in layers of a cooling gel that hardened into something like a cast. Falcon watched, fascinated by the alien technique even as fatigue weighed down his eyelids. "You are different from others we have treated," the first alien said. "How so?" "You are willing to suffer to avoid our help." Falcon winced. "It's not about avoiding your help. It's about knowing what I can handle. If I didn't know what I was doing, I would have let you cut me open." The second alien tilted its head. "Your species has endured great hardship." "Yeah, that's kind of our thing." Falcon finally let his eyes close. The pain was still there, but now manageable. He could hear the soft humming of machines, the quiet murmurs of the aliens as they continued their work. Pain hadn't left, but it had become something he understood. And for now, that was enough. The cast, stitched like a colony of ants, had taken up residence beneath the surface. Falcon Trent leaned back against the angled support of the medical bay's reclined unit, something between a cot and a dentist's chair, and tried not to claw at the hardened gel encasing his leg. Every few minutes, one of the Virex's crew passed by his enclosure, tall, gliding, utterly silent unless they had a purpose. He had started naming them out of boredom. The one with the unusually narrow skull and oddly graceful fingers? That was Wisp. The one with the constant twitch in its left eye ridge? Jitters. He hadn't seen the commander again, but that was fine. He didn't need another lecture about protocols. A soft tap echoed from the opening to his alcove. Wisp entered, holding a narrow instrument that looked like a tuning fork mated with a flashlight. "Follow-up imaging," Wisp said, not bothering with pleasantries. "We must assess osseous integration." "Bone healing," Falcon muttered. "You guys love turning simple things into galactic crossword clues." Wisp angled the device toward his leg, and a faint hum started up. Falcon flinched as the cast began to glow faintly, revealing the faint shadows of healing bone beneath. "Well?" he asked. "Signs of regeneration are within acceptable deviation," Wisp said. "Your osteoblastic activity is unusually rapid." Translation: "You heal fast." Falcon shrugged. "Guess we make do." The scan ended and Wisp retracted the tool. Instead of leaving, it lingered, mandibles twitching slightly. Falcon raised an eyebrow. "You done? Your species demonstrates anomalous thresholds for discomfort and behavioral noncompliance." "Let me guess," Falcon said. "You've been assigned to study me now." "No, I volunteered." Falcon blinked, caught off guard. "Why?" "There is a rumor among the crew that you extracted a bone fragment from your own arm using nothing but a blade and dental floss. I suspect this is untrue." "Oh, that. Nah, it was a spoon and a belt." Wisp's eyes widened in a way Falcon hadn't seen before. It might have been horror. "I'm joking," he added, scratching his jaw. "It was a pen cap and vodka. But that was a long time ago. You are not a medic." "Nope." Wisp stared for a moment longer, then finally turned to leave. Before disappearing into the corridor, it said, "Your resilience is statistically inconsistent with other human subjects. Thanks, I think." Later that cycle he had no idea whether it was morning or evening, just that the ambient lights had dimmed slightly. Jitters arrived with a tray of nutrient paste and something that looked suspiciously like synthetic mashed potatoes. "Is that edible?" Falcon asked, poking at it. "Technically." He ate anyway. Hunger beat suspicion every time. Halfway through the meal, a loud clang echoed from the corridor. Jitters tensed, head turning sharply toward the sound. Another clang followed, then a high-pitched bark that definitely wasn't mechanical. Falcon stood slowly, testing his weight on the healing leg. It held barely. He hobbled to the doorway, ignoring Jitters' protest. "You are not authorized." "Save it. Something's happening." Outside, the hallway was lit with pulsing amber strips. Not red, so not a full emergency, but not green either. Falcon followed the sound, limping along the curved corridor until he reached a wide chamber filled with equipment racks and diagnostic tables. 3 crew members were clustered around something on the floor. The something groaned. Falcon pushed closer and saw her. A human woman, maybe late 30s, in a torn flight suit, left arm hanging limp at her side, face pale and bloodied. Her eyes flicked open, and when they landed on Falcon, something like recognition sparked. "Trent?" she rasped. "Francis," he breathed. She coughed, then tried to sit up and cried out, curling around her shoulder. "Don't move," Falcon said, dropping to one knee beside her. "It's out of socket." One of the aliens stepped in. "We must initiate surgical prep." "No," Falcon snapped. "She doesn't need surgery. You are not qualified to make that determination. She's got the same dislocation I had. I know what to do." Francis groaned again. "Just fix it." Falcon looked around. The aliens were already deploying equipment, scalpels, restraints, sterile fields. No one had asked Francis if she wanted surgery. They just assumed. He turned to Wisp, who had just arrived. "We've got seconds before her muscles seize up. Do you know how to assist a manual reduction?" Wisp blinked. "I can provide biomechanical stabilization. But this is inadvisable. She wants it done now. You want to understand humans? This is it." Wisp hesitated, then gave a sharp nod. Falcon moved quickly. He guided Francis to lie flat, placing a folded jacket under her upper back to extend the shoulder. She was trembling, sweat breaking along her brow. "I need something for traction," he said. "A towel, strap, anything." Wisp handed him a flat strip of woven material probably not designed for medical use, but strong enough. Falcon looped it around Francis's wrist, then knelt and gently pulled her arm outward, maintaining a steady line of tension. "I'm gonna rotate the arm," he said. "You'll feel pressure, then a pop. Just do it," Francis hissed. He rotated gently, using her own body weight to align the humeral head. Her face contorted as he moved the joint, and then it happened, a soft, dull clunk. Francis gasped, then lay still. "That actually worked." Falcon let out a breath. "Told you." Wisp scanned her shoulder. Glenohumeral alignment restored. No fracture. Joint capsule intact. Another alien leaned in. Manual reduction successful. No anesthetic. No surgical incision. "She doesn't need a scalpel to feel better," Falcon said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "She needs someone who knows what a shoulder is supposed to feel like." Francis reached up with her good arm and grabbed his wrist. "Where's Ludo?" Falcon's face fell. "Haven't seen him." Her eyes closed, jaw tightening. "He was in the rear cabin. I ejected before impact." Wisp turned to the others. "Scan the planet's northern quadrant. Prioritize wreckage signatures." Falcon helped Francis sit up, supporting her back. She looked around the room, taking in the sterile walls and hovering med tech. This place is weird, she muttered. You should see the food, Falcon replied. Wisp stepped closer. I must report this incident. It is unprecedented. Francis looked at Falcon. You set my shoulder better than that field medic back on series. Yeah, well, I didn't have to do it in the middle of a bar fight this time. Wisp tilted its head. You have performed this procedure before? Once. On myself. Once on a drunk guy who fell off a roof. And now once on a pilot. So that's 3. The implications are significant. Falcon helped Francis to her feet. She leaned heavily on his side, but she was upright. You gonna write a report about how humans refuse sedation and yank their joints back into place with rags and stubbornness? Yes, Wisp said flatly. In great detail. As they hobbled back to the medical bay, Falcon glanced at Francis. How bad was the crash? She winced. Lost partial pressure at 10,000 feet. Ejection system barely cleared the ridge. I landed on a ledge. Had to climb down with one arm. You climbed down? With that shoulder? Not far. Just enough to get picked up by the patrol drone. They found me after dark. Falcon shook his head. You're insane. Francis gave a tired grin. Takes one to know one. Behind them, Wisp and Jitters exchanged a series of rapid clicks. Falcon didn't need a translator to understand what they were thinking. Humans were a problem, but the kind you couldn't look away from. There was a rule on Virex medical decks: no non-crew personnel were allowed in the bio lab unless they were unconscious, contagious, or on fire. Falcon Trent had managed none of those, and yet he was there anyway, balancing on a crutch made of alloy tubing and a repurposed scanning handle. Francis leaned against a crate labeled nutrient gel, not for carnivores, holding a cooling pack under her reset shoulder. She hadn't spoken in a few minutes, which probably meant she was planning something. The biolab was a cavernous chamber of glass panels and transparent cylinders filled with colorful substances that pulsed like living mood lighting. Wisp stood at a console, its elongated fingers dancing over a flat panel that shifted symbols too fast for Falcon to follow. Jitters paced near the exit, clearly agitated, the whether by Falcon's presence or the fact someone had spilled a protein substrate on the floor was unclear. Falcon limped up beside Wisp and peered at the console. Is this where you keep the good coffee? This is a restricted zone, Wisp replied without looking. You are in violation of containment protocol. I'm also the only one aboard who's fixed 2 shoulders in one cycle without sedatives, so maybe I get a pass. Francis chuckled softly. He's got a point. Wisp paused, then turned. You are not here for caffeine. You are here because you requested access to the environmental logs. Right, Falcon said. I want to see the telemetry from the drone that picked up Francis. If Ludo ejected, maybe he landed nearby. There were no confirmed heat traces beyond her location. Could a body show up colder than ambient scans? Only if he was shielded by terrain, or no longer metabolically active. Francis shifted on her crate. He's alive. I just know it. Gut feeling. Falcon asked. Call it pilot's instinct. Wisp gestured toward the console. The drone recorded atmospheric disturbances consistent with a secondary pod release. It was dismissed as debris. Show me, Falcon said. Wisp brought up a 3-dimensional rendering of the terrain. A jagged canyon split the landscape with steep cliffs on either side. Francis pointed at a faint blue streak. There. That's a shoot flare. It's not debris. Wisp magnified the image. The streak led into a narrow crevice that widened into a basin. It was shaded entirely until late in the local day. Too deep for a drone sweep, Falcon muttered. He could be down there. Jitters twitched. No retrieval team is scheduled for that sector. Then change the schedule, Falcon said. You are not authorized to assign missions. I'm not assigning anything. I'm volunteering. Wisp folded its limbs. You are both injured. Francis stood up straighter. And still more mobile than half your survey drones. Falcon nodded toward the canyon. We'll go in light. No gear we can't carry. We'll ping every 20 minutes. If we don't check in, send your eggheads. Jitters clicked twice. If you die, it will be inefficient. That's the spirit. 2 hours later, they were aboard a skimmer the size of a small camper van, skimming the upper ridge of the canyon. An alien pilot, smaller and sleeker than the others, sat silently at the helm, adjusting their course with minimal input. Falcon sat across from Francis, leg braced, watching the terrain blur beneath them. Francis adjusted the sling across her chest. "You sure you can do this? I've walked farther on worse." I once landed a shuttle with a broken pelvis. This is a picnic." The skimmer lurched slightly as they descended, following a narrow thermal current into the basin. The sun was just beginning to edge into the crevice, casting long shadows that distorted the rock formations. As they touched down, the pilot handed them a locator beacon and returned to the skimmer, clearly uninterested in participating. Falcon dropped to one knee, tested the ground, then nodded. "Stable enough. Let's make this quick." They moved carefully, weaving between jagged outcrops and low ridges. Every so often, Falcon stopped to scan the horizon, listening for anything that didn't belong. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the crunch of gravel underfoot. After 30 minutes, they reached a slope that dipped into a bowl-shaped depression. Francis pointed. "There." Fabric. A tangle of chute material flapped weakly against a broken rock. Falcon moved faster, nearly stumbling on a loose stone. As they reached the edge, they saw him. Ludo lay half covered by his emergency pod, face caked in reddish dust, one arm bent at an awkward angle. His eyes fluttered open as they approached. "Took you long enough," he rasped. Francis dropped beside him. "Still alive, huh?" "Barely." Falcon checked his pulse. "He's stable. Dehydrated. Dislocated elbow, maybe a fractured clavicle. Can you fix it?" Francis asked. He examined the joint. "It's not like a shoulder. Elbows are trickier. If I do it wrong, I could mess up the artery." Ludo groaned. "Do it anyway." Falcon pulled a thin thermal blanket from his pack and rolled it into a support wedge. He positioned Ludo's arm, then wrapped a strap around the forearm to apply gentle traction. "Deep breath," Falcon said. Ludo gritted his teeth. Falcon rotated the arm slightly, then applied a steady pull. There was a faint clack as the bones slipped into alignment. Ludo gasped, then went limp. Francis leaned back. "That sounded awful." "But it worked," Falcon said, checking the pulse in Ludo's wrist. "Still strong. No numbness. We're good." They activated the beacon. Within 10 minutes, the skimmer returned and the pilot helped lift Ludo aboard. Falcon collapsed into his seat, sweat soaking through his collar. Wisp was waiting when they returned to the Virex. It observed Ludo carefully, then turned to Falcon. "You were located an elbow without diagnostic imaging, anesthetic, or surgical tools. Didn't have a lot of options. It should not have been possible." Francis helped Ludo onto a cot. "That's kind of a theme." Wisp gestured them toward the med bay. "You will all be scanned." "Thoroughly." Falcon sighed. "Fine. But I'm not lying down again unless someone bribes me." Later that evening, after the scans were complete and Ludo was resting, Falcon stood near one of the observation windows, staring out at the unfamiliar stars. Wisp approached silently. "You are unremarkable anatomically," Wisp said. "Yet your pain thresholds and improvisational problem-solving exceed projections. People underestimate how much you can do when no one's coming to save you. Why avoid surgical correction when available? Because sometimes the best tool is knowing your own limits. And sometimes it's knowing when to push past them." Wisp studied him. "You are not fearless." "No," Falcon said. "But I don't wait for perfect conditions. I just work with what I've got." There was a pause. "I will be submitting a revised profile for human emergency response behavior. Make sure to add a section about duct tape and stubbornness." Wisp considered it. "That may require its own volume." Falcon turned back to the stars. "Just make sure they know we don't break easy. And when we do, we don't stay broken." Behind him, Wisp nodded. For once, the Virex felt peaceful. Everything had been said. Everything had been done. No lingering questions, no unresolved threats. Just the quiet hum of alien machinery nursing 3 humans back to health and the growing awareness among the crew that humans weren't just durable. They were impossible to predict. And, more unnervingly, impossible to stop.